prime ministers and princes. Yet the May 29 through June 1st, 2014 secret gathering in Copenhagen, Denmark had a few strange attendees and one odd man out. Bilderberg 2014 was gorged with biochemists, doctors, and pharmaceutical heads, as if the Bilderbergers, who have long openly decried the overpopulation of the planet, expected some pandemic to soon weed out the world population, predicting perhaps something like the Ebola virus that is now quickly spreading across the planet. Pandemic-connected attendees included Trilateral Commission member and disease epidemiologist Heather Monroe Bloom, University of Copenhagen biomedical professor Søren Peter Olsen, and pharmaceutical industry-connected Jørgen Huno Rasmussen. This was the bottom of the barrel of the disease-connected Bilderberg retinue. However, several more attendees were included, among them two national health ministers, Paulo Macedo from Portugal and Ida Schippers from the Netherlands. The odd man out, apparently, the only U.S. mayor to ever attend the Bilderberg soiree, was Atlanta Mayor Kasim Reed. So why exactly would an unknown mayor be invited to hobnob with the uber-rich like Google head Eric Schmidt or New World Order proponent Henry Kissinger? Oddly, or not so oddly, the Ebola pandemic began to rear its ugly head right before the Bilderbergers were toasting glasses of $1,000 champagne. According to the Center for Disease Control, the CDC, from November 2012 to March of 2014, there were a total of 6 cases of Ebola worldwide. Beginning in March of 2014, up until the present, the number jumped to a staggering 1,383 cases, and that number is now rising at an alarming rate. So again, the question is, why was Atlanta Mayor Kasim Reed invited to the Bilderberg meeting? For those following the news...
Okay, this is Francesco Abbruzzino, for Frankie, as my parents and friends call me, and this is the Uncensored Report. And that was just a small documentary, a piece of it, just questioning why all these officials, these individuals, were at the Bilderberg meeting prior to March, when this epidemic of Ebola essentially just took off. It's been something that I've tracked since March. I tracked it since I started hearing about it, which is the beauty of alternative media. You didn't start hearing about it from major media until the 50 death mark, essentially, and that was just a whisper. And then the 100 death mark, around the 100 death mark, and then around the 1,000 death mark, they started opining in great detail, and then they just stopped, which made me think that the government came in and said, hey, look, you're sensationalizing this, you're concerning many people, you're upsetting the apple cart. So they just essentially stopped really paying attention to it. It's out there, it's just not out there like it was around the 1,000 death mark. And so that, look, if you watch my show, I believe that major media is the mouthpiece of the government. And they're out there basically communicating what the government wants you to know. Hence why I say, watch alternative media. You got to get out there. When you open up and you listen to these different news sources, and you just don't take what I have to say, you listen to the various sources out there and make your own informed decision on what is happening. Don't just take what I'm saying. Just don't take what major media is saying. Don't take what this documentary video is saying. Don't take what the government's saying is gospel. Educate yourself. Hopefully this show, this Uncensored Report, will educate you somewhat, give you a new perspective. It will inspire you to get up and get out there and do something. Get out there and make a change, affect change in our society, folks. Even if I just reach one person, if only one of you out there is watching me, and I can affect change, guess what? It's gonna make a significant dent out there, because that one person will talk to others, and it will continue to get the message out there. And that's what my objective is. Now, this is a one-man show. I do everything from the technical, the website, the hosting, the research, and everything. It is a one-man show, though, that I think, and the goal is within a month to have it syndicated a little bit more. Right now, I'm just doing the weekend radio show, and that covers local county issues. And what we're trying to do is bring it to more of a larger region, the Tampa area on down to the Venice, a radio show, plus the websites. And then hopefully we'll go national, and we can continue to get out there, continue to get the message out there, continue to affect change, which after all is what it's all about. But let's get back to this Ebola. And one thing I've been following it, and I've seen how it's impacted these countries, Sierra Leone, Guyana, Liberia. I've seen them trying to quarantine individuals. In Liberia, we saw over near the capital where they ransacked one of the quarantine areas, and about 38 people escaped with Ebola, ran around a city of 1 million people. They went in and they stole these blood-stained sheets, sheets that had body fluids on them. And so who knows how many others were infected. There does seem to be an uptick in the number of people that are dying from it. We're up over 3,400 right now since March, when this essentially just took off. Now, one thing that we haven't thought about, and it's something I haven't really thought about until I read this article by Mike Adams with Natural News, and it essentially comes out and talks about the large number of sectors in the U.S. economy that depend on what we call public faith in the safety of crowds. Tourism. A good note is this. I live in Venice, and for some crazy reason, the city officials some 20 years ago decided that it made a whole lot of sense to get rid of this water treatment center that was out by Caspo's, and they decided that, hey, we're just going to go ahead and have the street runoff run into the ICW and into the Gulf. Well, lo and behold, that obviously sends out bacteria, and next thing you know, our beaches are some of the most polluted. This is Venice, Florida. They close them down a few times a year. It's horrendous. Now, the one thing the city officials hate, obviously, the mayor, the city council, is when that big old sign sits out there at Venice Beach saying, beach closed due to bacteria, due to feces of unknown origins. And then they really hate it when someone like myself, now I'm small on a national level, but if you look at it locally within Sarasota County, just Venice alone, I have 23 to 24,000 fans on my Facebook page. That message, my weekly reach goes between 80 to 320,000, depending on the message that's out there, the news cycle that's out there. And so they really don't like when I put it on my site, because what it does is it impacts tourism. Will tourists want to come here? I remember I was walking down the beach, and I'm starting this documentary on the whole drainage issue, and I was right in front of the drainage, and there were tourists just sitting right there playing in front of it. And just a block down the beach, it was closed due to bacteria. And I asked, do you know what flows out of here? No. Do you know just about a block down, the beach is closed? Oh, yeah, but that's a block down. So you don't think the tide and the current will carry it here? No. Talk about being dumbed down. So, the tourism, Ebola, how many people, and this actually happened, folks, where people are saying, we're not going to Dallas. We're not going to Dallas for that 21-day incubation period. We've canceled our flight to Dallas. How's that going to impact their overall economy? From commercial air travel to restaurants, commercial air travel. I run a medical billing business, and I have India, I have Italy, and people here in the States. Italy, I'm ramping up a lot of stuff over in Italy, and I'd love to go over there because I got to train them. I got to get some supplies and stuff to them. But I'm nervous as hell to go on an airplane, especially international travel right now. Restaurants, who wants to go into restaurants? Just think about it. How many people touch that menu? And yet we go in there, we touch this menu, la lista, and we study it for what we want to eat. But do you realize how dirty it is? How many people go to the bathroom, they come back out, they're touching that menu? You touch the menu and then you eat your food? Think about it, folks. Sporting events, public transportation, all coming in close contact with people. It's all relatively safe activity for now. But will it always be that way? And it is the belief that safety in crowds is shattered, that the public's unwillingness to risk their health and lives will lead to a rapid revenue implosion. in numerous sectors of the economy. And I'm one of those people that believe that. And just look at Dallas. How many people canceled their flights? That means they won't be spending $200 on a hotel. That means they won't be spending $50 out there at dinner, $20 out there for breakfast. That means a family of 4 may not be coming to Dallas to visit and see what it's all about. That means many people might stay out of Dallas and won't go to a Cowboys game this weekend. The economic impact, folks. And I'm not sure if such concerns about visiting Dallas are rational or not, but they're real quick concerns in the minds of the people. And the people who are making economic decisions. Do we want to go there? You know, the World Bank has already come out and they said, hey, look, over in Africa and Western Africa, Liberia, Sierra Leone, West Africa, it's had a significant economic impact. Of course it has. Who the heck wants to fly into Liberia? A, to get the virus, and B, when you leave there, you're going to be quarantined for 21 days if your country lets you come back in at all. You know, right now they appear, you know, the CDC would like to think they have the situation under control in Dallas, and it appears under control. I, for one, don't think that's attributed to the CDC, because I think they dropped the ball in many ways. But what if this were to happen in a city like New York, Los Angeles, Miami? It would cause many people to start questioning, do I want to visit them? Imagine if it hit New York. As it begins to spread, this outbreak, this Ebola, and it's uncontrolled, it would convince many people to just stay away. Air travel to and from these cities would essentially have a sharp decline. Local businesses would start to feel that impact. Gyms, sports events, concerts, restaurants, all feeling the impact. How about on transportation? In this, you can feel the real economic impact. Places like New York, Italy, when I was in Rome, transportation's a huge part of getting around. Subway, significant. Buses, significant. Taxis. All forms of public transportation. They involve moving massive amount of people from here to there. And when you're doing that, you're potentially touching contaminated surfaces. Subway car handrails, somebody's sweating all over it. And I tell you what, folks, if I've been in Rome, I've lived in Rome for the summer. You go in there on these subways, it's hot, and you are sweating. And if you're there at rush hour, it gets packed. There's essentially no air on there, just the windows down. And everybody's touching the rails because you're jerking everywhere. So you got that body fluid from someone that's sweating, and you're right there, and you're all touching the rails. Think about it. The ability to spread in a subway is even worse because there's no sun in there, no natural sunlight. You're in an underground tunnel, so a lot of people suspect that it's even stronger there. A great concern. Will people stop taking subways? Will they stop going to work? Will consumers stop going out and purchasing items? You know, this public transportation delivers the workers to the companies, deliver the consumers to the companies. Banking, transportation, finance sector, hospitals, healthcare, restaurants. Any sustained stoppage of an infrastructure that delivers workers to their jobs or consumers to the retail sector will have a near immediate devastating effect on the local economy. Has anybody thought about that? A lot of people out there, a lot of people in my crazy conspiracy world are thinking, hey, is the government going to use this as a scapegoat for the imminent debt collapse? And that's the theory that's circulating out there. If Ebola gets bad enough, the Western worlds, the European United States, can blame the impending global banking debt collapse that we've been able to put off for years with QE, zero rates and everything. But it'll unravel, it'll implode, and we could say Ebola. We could blame Ebola. And not the George Soros of the world. This would allow the central bankers who caused all these global debt issues in the first place to get away with it. Making Ebola the act of God that came in and essentially brought about financial repercussions. If it's a perfect getaway plan, blame Mother Nature, blame God. You know, this whole global banking system has been working this farce, this scheme since 2008. And the system has remained on the verge of systematic collapse. And it's only been propped up by injecting QE into the system. Allowing the system to reset and unravel these trillions of dollars in derivatives would only require a pause in the money injection. And the Western bankers would love to sit there and blame this on Ebola. You know, and to get even further into it, I would love to have someone like, an expert like Phil Grandy from philsgang.com or Donnie Cogswell from there to come on and explain to you in detail what's going on and how this whole financial market is just a big scheme, a big Ponzi scheme. And many people just don't realize it. You know, from the, I was talking to, I do my weekend radio show, and JR is one of the producers or technicians there. And before my show recording, we always go in and we start talking. And even during the recording, there's like a 4-minute intermission when we're playing commercials. And we'll sit there and just start going back and forth. And we were talking about the formation of BRIC and the petrodollar. And essentially how the formation of BRIC, and it's essentially been taking off and more people are going to there. And essentially, everyone's going to go there. And if we lose this petrodollar, it's really going to kill our economy. And the only country there that's basically holding that petrodollar in place is Saudi Arabia. Hence why we're doing a lot of Saudi Arabia's dirty work. Hence why we're over there giving money to ISIS and working hand in hand with ISIS, because Saudi Arabia does not like Syria. Saudi Arabia does not like Iran. And Saudi Arabia is essentially holding us hostage, and they're saying, look, either you do this stuff for us, or we'll hurt you via the dollar. And you'd be amazed at how some of these smaller countries you would never think have a lot of power control, like Saudi Arabia, actually control the purse strings of America. Control what we do, think, and act. Think about it, folks. Just sit around and think about it one day. And what would happen if Ebola does break out? Some major pandemic in somewhere like New York. You've seen what the people start thinking in Dallas. If you're watching the news, you see the craziness that's happening over in West Africa. What if that were to happen here in New York City? Instead of a city with 1 million people, you got a city with 8 million people. And actually, in Liberia's capital, there hasn't been a major outbreak. It's been in the outskirts. But imagine if it's in a major capital. Maybe that's why I got this article here. And where's it say? Hold on one second. Right here. It says, maybe this is why the UN's very own Department of Peacekeeping Operations, INSPRA Humana Resources Gateway, posted a solicitation for new hires to conduct peacekeeping operations in New York during the coming months. I don't know about you, but I don't like the UN, and I definitely don't want the UN here in enforcing martial law, because that's essentially what this is talking about. How is this solicitation going out? How is it nobody knows about this? Think about it, folks. And how about our southern border? You have U.S. officials that are now saying, hey, look, Ebola could spread through this open border. We've caught people from Liberia, from Ghana, from Sierra Leone coming through the border. Oh, the major fear is that ISIS players will inject themselves and come across the border, and we just caught 4 the other day. So essentially, for those of you who are for this open border immigration policy, and you're not worried about ISIS sneaking through the U.S. border, Ebola is going to change that equation. It's going to change that equation. And forget the wacky people that are making alarmist statements out there. What do officials with actual responsibility for security have to say about this? Listen to them. Like the head of the Southern U.S. Command. That guy's out there saying, look, there's no way we could keep Ebola contained within West Africa. And if it breaks out in Central America, you're going to see mass migration into the United States. They will run away from Ebola, or if they suspect they were infected, they will run to the United States for treatment. Then what are we going to do, folks? Then what are we going to do? You can't stop them at the border now. You're not going to be able to stop them then. And I think this nightmare scenario might be right around the corner. Call me crazy. Call me the conspiracy guy. But we need to be concerned. We need to start taking action to ensure this doesn't happen. You have the U.S. Border Patrol agent and vice president of the National Border Patrol. He agrees that mass migration could happen if Ebola hits Central America. It could spread throughout the United States like that. Just look at the viruses from right now that are in the detention centers. I think I covered it, Wednesday show, whenever it was. The major viruses that are spreading, scabies, TB, and everything in these infection centers. I, for one, believe that the respiratory virus that is impacting our kids was brought over by all these immigrant kids that were placed into our school systems, that we were forced to accept into our school systems. And now how many kids are getting this respiratory virus? Sure, it's been around forever, but the stronger version didn't show up until the immigrants showed up, the illegal immigrants. And like I said, I'm all for immigration, folks. I'm an Italian American. I'm a first-generation Italian. My dad immigrated here, but he did it legally. Why can't these guys do it legally? And nothing's being done to secure this Ebola. This border. Nothing's being done to ensure Ebola virus does not spread down there. Or even how about the screenings at the airports? It's a joke, folks. The whole open travel policy is unfounded. Nothing's really being done there. It's concerning. And this is the type of stuff that keeps me up at night. This is why I was up at 2 in the morning yesterday. This is why I was up at 3 in the morning today. I look at what's going on around me. I want people to wake up. I don't know how else to communicate it. I got my website. I got my Facebook. I got my Twitter. I got my show. But the message isn't getting out there. People are not paying attention. They're calling you crazy because you're out there trying to communicate concerns, issues that are real life that are happening out there. And it's discouraging sometimes. It gets me down. All right, folks, we're going to take a quick message and we'll be back.
Is your money manager giving you safety and security? Wouldn't you like to make your money work harder for you? Then you should consider joining philsgang.com, where thousands of individual investors have successfully profited.
I'm up 60% on my portfolio. Following your system has been fantastic. I've been with you for about a month and a half now, and I'm already up 7%.
I've been in the business for a long time, and you're really one of the best I've ever heard.
Well, I just want to let you know what a great teacher you are.
For over a decade, philsgang.com's Phil Grandy and Donald Cogswell have been teaching, coaching, and investing right along with all Phil's Gang members.
I want to thank Donnie for market wrap. I bought 2,500 shares of AUI and sold it this morning at $820 profit.
Why not join thousands of satisfied Phil's Gang customers today? Go to philsgang.com, philsgang.com, or call 877-600-4264. That's 877-600-4264. Call today.
All right, and that was Phil's Gang, philsgang.com, folks. Check him out at 9 and 3. He does a live show Monday through Friday. Phil Grandy is a guru of the charts, and he'll show you how to make market, especially in these market. Like today, the 10th, when I came on, when the future, it wasn't looking good. The market was down significantly, and it was not looking positive. It was down over 300 points yesterday. Phil Grandy is the guy to turn to. He's the one that'll tell you how to put stops in place, how to follow the charts and beat this system. And he loves talking social issues. So he's a good guy. Plus, he's a sponsor of my program. So you got to love the guy, Phil Grandy. Check them out at philgrandy.com. Now, we're going to talk about a couple international issues, which we have to. We just can't ignore them. And some of the issues that I want to discuss is ISIS and the troops. The troops are grumbling. And they're grumbling about the impact or ineffectiveness of the air campaign that's going on. And this is something that the generals brought to Obama's attention. As you know, I'm an ex-vet of the Navy. And I want to make sure that my brother in arms are taken care of. That if they're sent into a fight, they're sent in there with a well-thought-out plan, that they're protected, that we're saving lives, and we're doing the right things. But right now they're grumbling. And they're saying the air war isn't effective against ISIS. It's too little and it's too late, which I agree, it is too late. Look, folks, Obama knew about these guys. These guys were the Baathists that were rejected and disengaged with the new Iraqi government. They became Al-Qaeda of Iraq. Then they became ISIL, and then ISIS, and then IS. We've known all about them all the time, all this time. But now here we are. We're saying, okay, we're going to go in after ISIS, which, as you guys know, based upon my previous shows, I think it's just a way to get in Syria and try to get rid of Assad. But they're going to work with these moderate rebels, which there are no moderate rebels there. The same moderate rebels he wants to work with have signed an agreement with ISIS not to attack them. It's a foolish endeavor. But he knows that the public is dumbed down enough watching video games and reality TV that they won't call him on it. So he's doing this no boots on the ground. He's got this pledge to keep American fighting out of boots on the ground and do an effective air campaign, which you can't do. Air campaigns are ineffective without boots on the ground, folks. And this is a mounting frustration for the Air Force in their fight against ISIS in Syria and Iraq. And it's moving a lot more slowly. It's normally they like fast-moving operations where they're dropping bombs after another. They're hitting as much as they can. But right now, they're limited. The warplanes are hitting these small number targets, and it's a cumbersome, it's a painstaking process, which it shouldn't be. They were saying that the biggest problem is the so-called kill chain, and that's trying to identify the right target on the ground. And at this moment, it's complicated. It's slow. Why? Because there's no boots on the ground. You have lack of U.S. ground forces to direct the American air power. And the American air power works best when you have boots on the ground that can direct your flights for you, can direct you where to go and where to bomb. They'll call in the strikes. From the sky, when you're up there 10,000 miles, 20, 30,000 miles up in the sky, it's pretty hard to find out who's friend or foe. You got the GPS coordinated devices, but they're not nearly precise enough, are they? And especially when we want to avoid any civilian casualties. They need additional information. They need boots on the ground to direct them. And I'm not saying bring in a force to fight a 20,000 strong army. You got forces small enough that can go in there securely and direct our warplanes. They need additional information, folks. And the only option right now is to use laser-guided bombs, which is even difficult too. And, you know, the Pentagon's compensated for this. They're saying, okay, we're going to work with the rebels, but you don't really know who the rebels are there. ISIS isn't simply a collection of terrorists. The group holds this whole territory. They're their own state, essentially. And we need to be able to get in there and act as a normal functioning military against the state. And we need workable intelligence. It's hard. It's hard to get workable intelligence in Syria. You know, you got these so-called moderate rebel forces that are cooperating with the ISIS groups, yet they're supposed to be helping us. We're supposed to be arming them. At least in Obama's mind. I never saw that as happening. I never saw that as coming to fruition. And because of all these variables, it's hard to find suitable targets there. You know, you could bring warthogs in there, but they're low flying and puts them in danger. And there's none in territory right now. I think they're using Apaches, which even brings out more danger. And the Apaches are out there trying to scout out and tell them where to essentially to hit. There have also been instances during the air war when a combat aircraft are not available in time to strike these targets when they pop up. So what do? These are all concerns out there fighting this ISIS, folks. Well, these are some of the concerns. I've noted concerns over and over the last few weeks. I mean, I could go on and on with concerns with ISIS and Syria and how the U.S.'s nation-building foreign policy is going. I could spend the whole shows, not one show, several shows on this issue. How about that Kim Jong-un? He had a lot of people are starting to question, where is this guy? He's been gone for months, 34 days since he's last been seen. Some people are saying that he might be dead. There may have been a coup. They don't know what's going on with him. Is he sick? Because he's had some gout issues before. Is he hurt from his ankle surgery he had? He had a fracture in his ankle. He had to get surgery. Has he gone overseas for medical treatment, which is very unlikely because I just can't see that happening. His wife, too, has disappeared. Where's she been? You know, if a lot of people are starting to think it was a coup because you had, out of nowhere, North Korea delegates, powerful delegates that came down and started talking to South Korea. And a lot of people are wondering, when should we start to worry? When should we start to worry about the situation over in North Korea? And is it a situation that we have to worry about? Is it like Ferguson? Now, that's a situation we need to worry about, folks. I tell you what, you had an off-duty officer, and I'm sorry for bouncing from North Korea to Ferguson, but it just hit my mind. I forgot to talk about it. You have this off-duty officer. He shot and killed an African-American kid. I think he was 15. And he shot him, I think, 17 times. I'm trying to pull up the document now. This is a few months after the Michael Brown incident. Michael Brown incident happened in Ferguson, which is essentially a suburb of St. Louis. So there's already a lot of tensions out there. And there's been word and concern that if they find Darren Wilson, the officer that shot Michael Brown, innocent, that there's going to be some major protest. Well, they don't need to wait for that, do they? No. They have protests now. You know, since August, there's been hundreds of protests, and rightfully so for a lot of reasons. They've been essentially been getting arrested for violating unwritten rules and committing minor offenses. You know, it's ridiculous stuff like failure to disperse or unlawful assembly. They're trying to take away our rights. There's no reason why we cannot assemble and have a peaceful protest, folks. Violating the noise ordinance. They make these stupid rules on the books to get you for anything they want to. So they're taking a few people to jail. They got a 5-second rule over there in which the protesters have to stop walking and are subject to arrest within 5 seconds if they don't stop for the officers. You know, and so the courts are looking at these and they're saying a lot of your actions are unconstitutional. How about bail amounts? They're saying that bail amounts are rising. Jail time has increased. And that routinely, their protesters are just plucked from a crowd of 100 to 300 people for no reason. And it's continued, these steps. Even when Balmer came in, he took it over from the local city, and it's continued. You know, he stripped the police department of their jurisdiction, saying, okay, I'm now in charge. And many black residents are still skeptical of this Balmer guy, who himself is black. Wednesday night, you had that shooting. Tempers then flared up again. 2 nights of major protests going on over there, if you've been watching major media. And all over this, I guess the guy was 18. He was shot. Why? And from an off-duty officer. Why? What happened? Why is this happening? And you guys know my show. I constantly discuss the de facto standing army that the police are and Homeland Security has created. It's crazy, folks, what's going on around this world, around America with our police force. So there's potential for more protests, more demonstrations, more tensions over the weekend due to this situation. And they're going to come out with, they're hoping by the 15th on the situation of Darren Wilson, the officer, and that's just going to spark more controversy. I can't even imagine how violent it's going to get there, folks. They're looking for a reason to protest there. They're angry, and possibly rightfully so. We'll be right back. Get some of this great apparel from theroguegrant.com or the Uncensored Report or thevintagescoop.com. We have hats, shirts, coffee mugs. They educate, inspire, and change. Or for my Scoop fans, it'll say the Vintage Scoop, Sarasota Scoop, etc. Help me with this operation so I can continue to get a fresh perspective on the news out to the masses. Thanks a lot, and have a great day. Just go to my website and click on the icon. Hey everybody, this is Frankie, and I'm here today to introduce Longevity. It's a great nutritional supplement to anybody that's eating right or not eating right. I take supplements on a regular basis, and longevity cannot be beat, especially at some of the great price points. So go to theroguerant.com or theuncensoredreport.com and click on shop. Go down to longevity, click on it, and you'll be helping out the operations of the station so that we can continue to bring you a fresh perspective on alternative news. Longevity. Check it out today. All right, that's longevity. I tell you what, I'm always into the protein mixes and everything, and out of Phil's gang, when I was recording my show, I went out there and they had a powder, and I keep forgetting the name of it. You mix it in with water and it gives you energy. And I tell you what, that stuff worked miraculously. I loved it. It was awesome. So longevity, check them out whenever you can. Economic freedom. Is America lagging behind? We're going to cover economics, some finance. I'm big on the old finance. But where are we? Are we lagging behind? Much of the world continues to grow at great levels, and they have a lot of economic freedom. But the United States doesn't really. And this is based upon research and studies, and it shows a trend that should bring more prosperity, longer lifespans, and political freedom as well. But it's not that rosy here in the United States, folks. We used to be one of the most economically free nations on the planet, but not anymore. Hey, and we just heard, 2 days ago, we're no longer the largest economy. China's taking it over. As the policies of the successive Congresses and presidential admins come in and they push out these edicts, you can start to see that what they've essentially caused is a steep decline in the U.S. position. And it's sad. We're now tied with the United Kingdom for the 12th place worldwide in terms of free economies. We were at one point down to the 18th. And there's other economies that are doing much better than us, that is surprisingly. At the very bottom, you have Myanmar, Congo, Burundi, Chad, a lot of African countries, Algeria, some Middle Eastern countries like Iran, but Iran's mainly due to us issuing sanctions. At the top, you have Hong Kong, who's been rocked by protests lately because the communist government of China is coming in and essentially handpicking the people that are loyal to them and saying these are the ones you can vote for your leadership. And they're saying, wait a second, we want to be able to go out and vote for who we want. We want to choose the people that are we can vote for. We don't want you to come in and say these are these are the people we're putting in place and you can choose from either A or B. No. That's Hong Kong. Singapore was at the top. These are the freest markets out there. China, which is currently seeking greater control over the freewheeling and semi-autonomous Hong Kong, is ended in an embarrassing 115th place. None of the BRIC countries really fared well at all. Which I don't know if that's surprising. To me, it's not. What about our labor force? We keep hearing about this great unemployment rate. The great unemployment rate. But did you know there's a record 92.5 million Americans that are 16 and older that did not participate in the market? You never hear about that rate. The participation rate dropped to 62.7%. That's a level we haven't seen in years, folks. And these 9 million people aren't being counted towards the unemployment. That's why a lot of people sit there and say, you can fudge your numbers all day long, Obama. You could sit there and tell us that it's only 5.5% unemployment. In reality, it's more like 17, 18, 20, 25%. It's just like the inflation number. They cherry pick. You got all your numbers out there. They'll say, which ones will work best for us to figure out our inflation number? Oh, let's look at filet mignon. That's at $15. It's never going up. It's already highly priced. We'll use that as one of our numbers, one of our indicators. And so they'll come out and they'll say, hey, look, there's no inflation. Inflation's what, 1.5%? Yet I'm going to Publix and I'm seeing inflation. My bill that may have been $120 for buying the same stuff today is $180. And then I get told by people that you shouldn't be spending for a family of four more than $800 a month in groceries. And I'm sitting here thinking, how the heck does a family of four spend only $800? Are you telling me that all I can do is eat mac and cheese? Because that's all you're going to be doing with $800 a month. This participation rate, it's the percentage of civilian non-institutional population who participate in the labor force but had to leave because they were either fired, they lost a job, whatever the circumstances. They're not being counted towards the unemployment rate. Hence, we get this fake rate. But we have to be concerned about this non-participation rate, because that means essentially these people have given up. They've given up on the economy. They've given up on their dreams. They're getting more from entitlements from the government, so it doesn't make sense to go out and work. Why? I'm getting welfare. I'm getting Obamacare. No, I got my SNAP. Why would I want to go out and work and lose all this stuff? When did America become the entitlement society, folks? Now, a lot of people out there, too, are saying we have this data breach out of JP Morgan. They're saying that the government guidelines are to blame for a lot of the security. I don't know if I'm buying that. And, yeah, we're sticking along finance. JP Morgan finance, you did it. I don't know how I made that jump, but we did it. They're saying because the government's coming in, making these crazy passwords, people aren't remembering them, they're writing them down, they're leaving them in areas where they can be recovered, and that's opening us up for greater theft, greater hackers. I'm not buying that. We just had Dairy Queen. Dairy Queen was just hacked. Home Depot, Target today. And they're blaming the United States government for saying we need stricter, tougher passwords. I don't know if that's the blame, folks. I think there's more systematic issues than that. What do you think? You know, and then we're not done, folks, are we? We're not done. Right now, our economy is, I don't care what the talking heads say on CNBC. Our economy is in a tailward spiral down. You get down the streets, folks. The people in the streets know what it's like. Obama can sit there and tell me all day long that it's great. That doesn't make it great. His talking heads can tell me it's great. That doesn't make it great. I'm about reality. I'm about what I'm seeing out there. And what I'm seeing out there is not it. That's the reality. And it is not what many of these corporate leaders are telling me, folks. So they can sit there and all day long tell me how great it is, how rosy of a picture it is. I'm not buying it. And you shouldn't either. You should question it. Now, if you get out there and you question it, you look at all the different resources that are out there and you buy into it and you say, hey, it is rosy, then great. At least you did the research and you came about that decision. Be it right, be it wrong. My whole objective here is to get you up, get you out there, get you active, get you looking, researching, not taking my word and saying that's the truth, not taking the government's word and saying that's the truth. Certainly not listening to major media, the propaganda piece for the government, folks. I can't tell you how many inaccuracies are there. And it's disturbing. I used to watch major media and think that was how the world was. I wish I didn't take the red pill. I wish I was dumbed down still. At least I could sleep at night. Now I'm up at night just thinking about our society, thinking about what is going wrong with it, what is going on in the world. How can I get out there and help? How can I spread the word? And it keeps me up at night. We'll be right back. Check out My Patriot Supply. They got the straw there. That straw is great. I tell you what, folks, you can go out and basically, if we're in a critical situation and there's a massive hurricane, there's no water, guess what? You use these straws, the life straw, out there in the pond, and it cleans out all the water and gets you filtered water. How can you beat it? Check it out. Check the product and much more, and help support the operations at theuncensoredreport.com. Did you know that the Bead Room, Macy's, and Sam's Club are now part of my organization where we are doing a revenue sharing program? So go to my webpage, theuncensoredreport.com. Click on any of those three links and take advantage of some of the free shipping or discounts that you may get. In return, you're supporting the operation and allowing me to continue to get the message out, both locally, nationally, and internationally. Thanks for supporting the program. All right, folks, and we are back. This is Frankie, and this is the Uncensored Report. All right, folks, I did want to cover, and something I forgot to, we're going to try to cover the new deal, which is trying to be pushed out by the UN. Plus, I wanted to talk a little bit about this whole White House aide involved in the prostitution scandal. This is essentially I think he was a Harvard graduate. He was 25. He was the advanced team to go out and ensure that the hotel was safe for the president. He's the advanced team. He was a volunteer, so a lot of people don't understand why he was there, but he essentially got a prostitute, Jonathan Dack. And it's not that getting a prostitute's illegal, because it's not in that country, the country of origin that they were in. The issue is that they wanted to keep it hush-hush. They did not want people to know that people that were part of the White House staff, be it volunteering or paid, had a prostitute in the room when they were in Colombia. A bunch of Secret Service got busted. Secret Service says, hey, we weren't the only ones. Other people were doing this. But it was squashed. And the same goofball, this Jonathan Dack, whose parents were some big liberals that donated money to Obama, is now in charge of global women issues. Global women issues at the State Department. And this is a division that goes out and protects the rights of the women. And that's not, I mean, that itself is a shame. I mean, I don't know how that could happen. But the fact that there's a cover-up, the fact that because of who his parents were, and because they did not want to shame the White House, that they were asked to hold off communicating this until after the elections. They were brought several times. They went to this lady that, what's her name? Bloomer. Oh, God, where's she on here? They went to this lady, White House counsel, and she's a candidate, Catherine Rumor. And she's a White House counsel. And she said, oh, we asked. He said, nope, it didn't happen. Forget the fact that they had receipts. Forget the fact that they had documentation. Forget the fact that people knew it happened. She said, no, he said it didn't happen, so we're not following it up. Now, this lady was on the short list to take over as the Attorney General. Do you think she's still on that short list? I don't think so. As I said, they had all kinds of documentation. They had the records. Basically, the way this was handled, people knew it went down, and they just wanted it hush-hush. One, they didn't want to embarrass the White House before the election. Two, they didn't want to embarrass the family of this wealthy donor. And we should be concerned about this, folks, and hopefully they're going to look into this further. I don't see this going away anytime soon. But I'm sure Obama will push it off as much as he can. We need zero-tolerance policies, folks, when it comes to this type of issue with our White House staff, our State Department staff. And how the heck does this guy get into a job protecting women's rights? It's nuts. They're treating this dude, Dack, with kid gloves. Why? This is a major point of contention, folks. We can't just turn away from this. And kudos to the Washington Post for coming out with this story that they try to keep hush-hush. Here's another deal you're just not hearing about. And this is a huge one that's concerning me. And it's the UN. And we all know I don't like the UN. And they're pushing for a new deal. There's a new report out. It's called the Global Governance. And it's a policy, basically, for pushing out this new deal. The United Nations, they've blasted free markets and said it's time for what they want as an international New Deal. And what it does is it attacks the competition, along with calls for some wealthy extraction from citizens to fund bigger government. It abolishes financial privacy worldwide. And they do this to facilitate global taxation, a global governance, a new world order. Now, we're going to cover this more in detail. I don't have enough time on this show to cover it. But this is going to be an issue that we're going to cover next week on Monday, I think. Because it's concerning, and I can't see the communication. I can't see the message getting out on major media. And it's something we need to be aware of, something we need to fight against, something we need to say, we're not going to take this. We will not tolerate this. All right, folks, it is Friday. This is the end of the show, almost near noon. Make sure you check out my weekend show. And even though it's a radio show, you get it on my site. And what I did is I put a raw video out. So basically, it's a raw video of me doing the radio show. So you can listen and watch on my site at the scoopradioshow.com or the uncensoredreport.com. You'll have to click tabs. But if you go to the scoopradioshow.com, it'll bring you right to the page. You can, if you miss it tomorrow, you can watch it anytime after 12 o'clock tomorrow. And you can watch it for the next week. It sits up there for a week. After that, it's archived down to the bottom of the page. You can also listen, like I said, 9:30 a.m. on the radio. You can listen to it at WLSSradio.com or philsgang.com. I don't know if they archive it at all, but it will be archived on my site. And again, I talk about local issues, but I put a national perspective on it, folks. What I do is we'll talk about we talked about Meatless Monday yesterday. And Meatless Monday was essentially my concern with them dictating what the kids can eat. So I took that on a national perspective. It's something that's happening local in Sarasota County, but it's a national issue, and we looked at it that way. So check it out by all means tomorrow, 12 o'clock at thescoopradioshow.com. Also remember, I will be back Monday through Friday, 11 to 12 on this station, the uncensoredreport.com, communicating to you, trying to educate, inspire, and affect change out there. This has been the Uncensored Report. This is Frankie. I want everybody to get out and have a great weekend, and I'll see you on Monday.